because when a client gets more support on their journey and they have that accountability component, studies will show they are going to get the results faster and more efficiently, and they're going to go further than they ever anticipated. And so it's a smart move right off the bat to get some additional support on your journey.
Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast, where we help you live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. I'm your host today, Vince Sant, and I'm extremely excited to have one of our V-Shred coaches, Mitch Nielsen, here on this episode with us. And we're going to be talking about how to hold yourself accountable. Mitch, he is a licensed physical therapist assistant. He's a PM1 nutritionist, been a personal trainer for over 10 years. Trains BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he considers himself a hybrid athlete, which I absolutely love, and maybe we can get into that a little bit because I love talking about different forms of training. And then also just loves helping get his clients results. He also helps other coaches get their clients results, and so he's a absolute expert in this, has all the experience you could ever want, and today we're going to be getting all the tips and tricks from him about how to hold yourself accountable and what has helped his clients hold themselves accountable in the past. So Mitch, welcome.
Damn, that is a big intro to live up to, but thank you for that.
Oh, you'll crush this. So I know I just introduced you. Why don't you go ahead and just give us a little more context on who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Mitch Nielsen. I live over in Charleston, South Carolina with my wife and our little girl who's about to turn 1 year. I've been a V-Shred coach for some time now, and I've been a personal trainer for over a decade. Throughout that time, I've trained and coached tens of thousands of clients. And I mean, you name it, I've helped clients with those specific goals. I mean, you name it. And so it's an extremely rewarding profession that I'm in. Now that I'm with V-Shred for some time, I've actually been promoted into a management position where I get to help other trainers and help them with their specific clients. It's amazing to be able to have such a big reach and to be able to help so many people. It is extremely rewarding.
And what got you into personal training?
What got me into personal training, I was always into fitness. I was always into working out because I was always an athlete myself.
Okay.
I played basketball, I played football. Moving into college, I got into the endurance sports, like really heavy. And so I went into cross country and track and swimming. And then that kind of led me into doing triathlons. So then I've done a ton of triathlons. So, I mean, that was something that, as a triathlete, you're considered a multi-sport athlete, and you're always looking for ways to get a leg up on the competition. And a big part of that is cross training and getting in the gym. And also a big part is having proper nutrition. So that kind of led me down to this path of, practicing these techniques that are going to help me improve my overall fitness, improve my health, and just live a healthier, more active life to really become a higher performer overall.
And when you work with clients, what is the typical client that you work with?
I actually work with a lot of guys that are like my age. I really like helping them with their specific journeys. But with that being said, I've worked with youth athletes. I've worked with geriatric athletes or geriatric clients, by the way.
Okay, geriatric athletes, nice.
Yeah, right. No, the geriatric clients, what I'm saying there is like from young to old, big to small, male to female, you name it, I've worked with them. But I really like working with, younger men. When I say younger, it's like more like my age, like 30s is really cool. But I find that even people that are in, solid shape overall, if they can improve upon that and get on a solid routine, they become higher performers in life in general.
Everywhere, yeah.
And so that's something that I've witnessed myself, and I like to practice what I preach. And if I could help others see that as well, it's extremely rewarding.
What are some of the issues that you see with people when they're first starting out with you when it comes to accountability?
Now, I will say that whenever people are coming to me for help with their accountability, I think that is one of the smartest things that they can do. And I always will give them full respect if they are reaching out for help, when they know that this is something that might be something that could get in the way in their journey and get in the way of their success on their journey, is maybe they struggle with accountability. So if they reach out to me for help, first off, I'm congratulating them, and I'm more than willing to help them on their journey. The reason being, because when a client gets more support on their journey and they have that accountability component, studies will show they are going to get the results faster and more efficiently, and they're going to go further than they ever anticipated. And so it's a smart move right off the bat to get some additional support on your journey. And then once I'm actually working with clients, I make sure that they are maintaining that accountability, and I'm doing their check-ins with them, and I'm reaching out and making sure that they're following the process. And a big part of helping them maintain that accountability is actually giving them a plan and a process that's suitable for their lifestyle. Because if I'm giving a plan that a client has to mold their entire life around to fit this plan, it's something that's not going to be super sustainable.
Yeah.
But on the contrary, if I can build a plan to fit into somebody's lifestyle where all of a sudden it just blends and works in with their lifestyle, and they're following with this and they're getting results, it's so much easier to do it that way.
What's the difference of someone actually sticking to a plan when they have to build it themselves versus having a coach like you build it for them?
Today is the age of information. So you can go out online and you can do all the research to build out an amazing plan that's going to get you results. The thing is, you're going to have to sort through millions of articles in order to find that information. And then let's say you do find what you think might be the best route for you. You get started on that, and let's say maybe you don't get amazing results right off the bat. You're not even really sure if this is the right plan for you. So what do you think the chances are of you actually wanting to continue with this program, continue with that process, and stay consistent with that when there's so much guesswork involved? When they have that professional support and guidance, that person can take out that guesswork.
Yes.
Right. This, as a coach myself, I'm able to do a deep evaluation on these clients and understand what they've done in the past, where they're at currently, and what they need to do in order to get to their goals. And then I can come up with a game plan and help them achieve these results they're looking for. And most importantly, it's able to cut out all that guesswork.
Yeah. And I think to piggyback off that, it's also the confidence. You talked about how hey, if somebody follows a plan, it might be the perfect plan for them. But progress, as we all know, is not linear. You're not going to get the same results and get in better and better shape every single week. You're going to have weeks where you hit a little bit of a plateau. You were a little bit more stressed out. Your sleep wasn't quite there. Whatever the reasoning is, you're going to have weeks where you don't get as good of results. And in those weeks, if you don't have the confidence that what you're doing is exactly what you should be doing, then now you start questioning, well, is this actually the perfect plan? When in the beginning, you were like ready to go all in with it, and you were ready to give it a shot. And the first week it was doing amazing. You had all the confidence in the world. Then that confidence starts to slip a little bit because you don't really know what you're doing. You just kind of went and searched the internet, which good for you. Hats off to you if you are that do-it-yourselfer. But you have to be able to instill in yourself the confidence that what you're doing is what you should be doing, and also hopefully it just is. That's the other thing, is a lot of times it probably isn't the best thing that you should be doing. And so I think what you said about the coach, working with a coach, helps you with the accountability, but it also helps you with that confidence in what that plan is. How would you, what I want to do for our listeners is I want to do 2-part answers. How a coach helps, but then also ways of doing it themselves, because I know working with a coach isn't realistic for everybody. Not everybody can afford it, or they just don't have the interest in working with a coach for whatever reason that may be. I have coaches in a bunch of different areas of my life, and I believe that everybody should have a coach in the areas that they don't have the time to do that research or build or do that programming. Personally, I have a lot of knowledge around fitness programming, right? But I still have coaches I still have fitness coaches. And I have a triathlon coach, and I have a physical therapist, and I have all these different coaches, and I have an actual therapist, and then there's also coaches in other areas of life. I have a financial advisor. I have a handyman. There's all these things that I could go figure out on the internet, but I'm not going to go do it. And so therefore I find someone to do it for me. So what does it mean to hold oneself accountable in the context of personal goals and self-development?
First, I just want to, give you mad respect for having the support in your life in all those different areas. And, I would consider you a high performer in life, right? And that's not just to fluff your feathers, but you are a high performer. But at the same time, that having support on your journey, having some accountability, having a professional in these different aspects helps you achieve better results overall.
Yes.
And you look at the top performers in the world.
Yes.
Look at Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Look at Lance Armstrong. Look at Tiger Woods. Guess what? They all had coaches.
Tons of them.
Tons of coaches. I think there's tremendous benefits to having a coach. And a lot of people, are thinking, what, maybe having a coach just isn't for me. But a lot of times they have their own limiting beliefs that are holding them back from getting the necessary support. And maybe they're thinking, well, I'm not a high level athlete, so I don't need that.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what's preventing you from becoming a high level XYZ.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about being an athlete, but it's about being a better
dad,
mother, a better father, a better business person, everything, you name it. And it can all be tied back into your health and fitness. If you want to be a true high performer, you have to have a higher level of fitness, and you need to be able to carry yourself to a higher standard with your fitness as well. And, I talk all the time about how when you can take control of your health and fitness and you start making these improvements, you start living as a high performer. This starts showing in so many areas of life. And imagine when you walk into a room and you are just out of shape and you're out of shape. And imagine how that impacts your confidence. Now, on the contrary, imagine if you take care of your health and fitness, you live your life to a higher standard. When you walk into the room, your shoulders are high, you have better posture, you carry yourself with more confidence, right? Having improved fitness and health is one of the things that can tell the most about you without ever saying a single word.
Yes.
Imagine walking into a room with that level of confidence, and it's like, this person lives to a higher standard. I want to be with that person.
Yep.
And that's said without you ever saying a word.
Yep. No, there's no monetary value that can buy low body fat percentage or a healthy body, right? Mm-hmm. It's the, in my opinion, ultimate sign of not status, but just discipline and self-respect.
Self-respect, 100%. That's what was coming to my mind. When you look at somebody that takes care of themselves, they take care of their body, I could tell they have a level of self-respect, and they understand the importance of also their health and fitness, and how it impacts and plays a role in all these facets of life.
What I've experienced is everybody goes through moments or phases where they're lacking motivation. We actually talked about this on our last podcast episode for anybody listening who did not go watch or listen to our episode around how and why to be proactive with your fitness. Make sure that you go listen to it. But one of the things that we talked about was possibly losing motivation and how you can't rely on motivation because it's going to happen. Motivation is very fleeting, right? So what you have to rely on is you have to first off build discipline, you have to build healthy habits, and then that's what you rely on. And so I go through phases all the time where I'm not motivated. I actually got into this whole triathlon endurance style training stuff because I kind of lost motivation with just the same old weightlifting that I've been doing for 15 years. Right. Yeah. I still enjoy weightlifting. I still want to maintain muscle. I still want to have an aesthetic physique, all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's not optimal for triathlons, but I'm trying to be like a hybrid athlete here. I'm not trying to get all super skinny. I still like having size. But I lost that motivation and I found it somewhere else. Right. But in that time of not having the motivation, I wasn't missing the gym. Maybe my workouts weren't as good. Maybe I was having a few more cheats than I normally would have. But overall, still following that 80-20 rule that we talked about and relying on discipline. And what I've found, and this goes back to what you were just saying, when my fitness is on fire, the rest of my life is usually on fire as well. And when my fitness is lacking, usually I'm waking up late, going to bed late, on my phone late at night, hitting the snooze button, not being super productive with work, not being attentive to my dog, my form of a child. My relationships sometimes suffer because of it. When I'm disciplined with my fitness, I'm having more energy. I'm feeling better about myself. I have that self-respect. It usually translates to every other area of my life. Mm-hmm. What would you say are some of the common challenges that people face when they are trying to hold themselves accountable?
And so one of the things I recommend is not actually waiting for the perfect time to get started, because if you're always waiting for the perfect time to get started, well, if you do ever encounter some turbulence, it's more and more likely to throw you off of that plan and derail the train.
Well, and right? also maybe you never do get started.
And maybe you never do get started because the timing never really gets perfect. Yep. You have to make the timing perfect.
Yep.
So I always recommend it's better to just get started. And we go back to a quote that I love. I'm going to say it again.
Oh yeah.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. So don't wait any longer. You have the choice to get started now.
Yep. I think the long-term gratification is a mindset that we should all live in. That's actually one of the whole messages of one of my tattoos. I have Chinese bamboo. I don't know if you've heard the story of Chinese bamboo. Basically, You plant Chinese bamboo seeds. It has to be watered every single day for like 5 years and nothing happens. Maybe it's 2 years. I can't remember how many years, but it's a couple of years, nothing happens. And then the seed sprouts and it grows 90 feet in 8 weeks, which is
wow.
Wild. And so it was all that time where you saw nothing happening, still putting in the work every single day, nothing happening. And then in 8 weeks, boom. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for life. And it's why is it so hard to hold yourself accountable though? Like, why do people struggle with it so much?
Well, I think people struggle with accountability. They struggle with following through with a plan. Oftentimes it's because the plan is not actually a good fit for their lifestyle. Maybe that plan is something that's only meant to be followed for a very short time because it's so restrictive, and that's a really, really common thing that you'll see out there, especially in fad diets.
Yeah.
They're so common that people are cutting out carbs and cutting out fats, and then they're going to keto, and then they're going to Atkins, and they're going to paleo, and they're cutting out all these things. And a lot of times they're cutting calories, but you look at all these different fad diets and you have to ask yourself, how long is this really going to be sustainable for? And I kind of have like a rule where if you can't see yourself following this for at least 2 years, don't even bother. Because if you start to follow this stuff and then you fall off track, you're just setting yourself up to get into this cycle where you start to roller coaster.
Yes.
And you just get back in the cycle, up and down, and you're like a hamster stuck on the wheel.
And you almost start predetermining how your fitness journeys are going to go. Saying what you believe is going to happen helps to make that happen. Obviously, there's a lot of action behind it that has to drive it, but if you truly believe it, the actions will align. And if you are telling yourself that, or if you're used to plans failing you time and time again, and you go into something with the mindset that this is just going to be like the other ones and that you're just going to do this for a couple of weeks because you want to lose 10 pounds before this concert or whatever, then exactly what you want to have, or exactly what you're telling yourself is going to happen, is going to happen. And so if you can go into it with, like you said, if you can shift that mindset and you can say, no, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to build discipline. I'm going to build healthy habits. I'm going to take this one step at a time. I'm not going to burn myself out. I'm going to follow a plan that I know I can stick to for years pretty effortlessly. And maybe it'll be a little tough in the beginning, and there's going to be moments throughout that are going to be really hard as well. But for the most part, this is something that aligns with my lifestyle, with my interests, with my goals. And this is something that I'm going to be actually be able to follow through with. I think that's huge.
It's one of those things where if you find yourself and you're in that cycle, you're in that hamster wheel where you're going up and down on the roller coaster ride, you have to understand each time you do that, you're not just setting yourself up back to square one. You're actually putting yourself down every time you do that. Just as Vince said right there, when you're in this routine, you're either strengthening your strengths or you're strengthening your weaknesses. And if you continuously go on the same trajectory and the same path and you fall off every time, well, guess what? You are strengthening a weakness because you're not actually following your word to yourself. And the more times that you make that commitment to yourself and you make that word, right? And then you don't follow through with it, well, guess what? You're strengthening that weakness. And the next time you go and you make that commitment to yourself, guess what? It's not as strong as it once was.
Yep.
So you can choose to strengthen your strengths or to strengthen your weaknesses. The choice is yours.
I love that. Now, kind of going back to goal setting, we talked about it a little bit, but what are some strategies or techniques for somebody who wants to set goals for themselves?
There's actually 3 levels to this process, 3 levels that are going to help you really understand why you're doing this in the first place, and then help you stay consistent with this. And a lot of people, when they're starting out on their fitness journey, they have their goal, right? And this is great. You have to start with a goal. But oftentimes this goal is something superficial. Maybe it's like, I want to lose 20 pounds.
Yes.
Okay, cool. You want to lose 20 pounds. But guess what? That's too surface level, and you're not really going to be that committed to just losing 20 pounds. So we have to take that a little bit deeper, okay? We need to understand, why do you want to lose this 20 pounds? And as you're coming deeper into that goal, you really start to understand why that's important to this individual person. Maybe they want to lose 20 pounds so they could have more energy. And I think that's amazing, right? And they're going to have that energy show up in so many different areas. And that's going to help them stay a little bit more consistent. They're going to do better than if they just stayed at that surface level, because now they understand the why, right? But I'm going to take this one level deeper. And that is if they can find the driving factor behind the why. And once they get to this deepest level, which is, let's say they want to lose that 20 pounds so that they can have more energy. And maybe the driving factor behind wanting more energy is so that they can actually play with their kids more. They can keep up with their kids. And once they get to that driving factor, that is what's going to keep them committed and accountable to staying on track towards their fitness goals so they can get towards that 20-pound goal that they have, right? But it wasn't just staying on that surface level. We had to go deeper than that. We had to go deeper so that you can maintain and find that connection. And that's what's going to help keep you on that path.
Love, love, love that technique. And if anybody takes just one thing from this episode, we got a lot more to talk about, but if anybody takes one thing from this episode, I think that's a huge one. How do people identify their personal motivators?
In the example we used earlier, someone wants to lose 20 pounds so that they can have more energy, so that they can play with their kids. But when we're in that level of this person wants to have more energy to play with their kids, that means currently they don't have the energy to play with their kids. And how is that impacting them? I mean, that has to feel pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, we get specific with these examples, but I imagine people with a family, they can relate to some of these things. But whatever it is for you, I mean, you have to do that exercise that me and Vince just talked about for yourself. Find out what your goal is, your why behind it, the driving factor behind that why. Ask yourself those questions. But then once you get to that deepest level, understand, like, what is that holding you back from currently? And how is that impacting your life?
That's great.
Because that at the end of the day is going to be the driving factor to you wanting to make the change. And even if it takes a lot to make that change, if the pain of staying where you're at is stronger than the pain of making the necessary changes, then you're going to make the change.
That's awesome.
But if that change that you're looking to make, right, is too strong and your goal is not strong enough, well, guess what? You're never really going to make any changes. You're not going to step out of that comfort zone to get to your full potential.
You're either chasing pleasure or you're running away from pain. And generally,
that's all it is. People
are running away from pain. And so I think it's super important to have, whether we like it or not, it's just the subconscious. It's just how people are wired. We are motivated more by the thought of losing something than gaining something, right? But I think
you're on a
Well,
You're on a roll. Keep going.
I was going to say, but I just think it's important to have that goal and have that optimistic look at it. But it's also important to know what you are trying to leave in the past. And so having those, if you can find the marriage of the mindset of remembering both of those simultaneously whenever you're feeling not motivated, man, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's honestly a game changer. And it's something that somebody can do just at home, just in their own thoughts. I think I remember you saying like you're big on mindfulness and maybe even have some meditative strategies you like to use. This is something where, you can go into your own thoughts on this and really start to understand why this is so important for you. And like you talked about, understanding like the success that's on the other side of this, which is great. It's good to have that in your field of vision, but also remembering like what you need to be leaving behind, what you need to be possibly running from.
Once you figure all that out, how do you build the discipline to actually follow through?
So you think about building these little habits, and that starts at the start of every day.
And you oil them a little bit every single day.
Absolutely. And you need to build up these little wins.
Yeah.
Like you give your word that you're going to get up and you're going to get a workout in. Well, when that alarm clock goes off, don't hit snooze.
Yeah.
Like get up and go get your workout in.
Yep.
And then count that as a win for the day, right? And guess what? When you have that small win for the day, you're more likely to set yourself up for following wins throughout the day, right? I mean, imagine if you just got a killer workout in. You set your alarm clock for 5 a.m. You got a morning workout in. You're not going to want to go home and stop at Dunkin' Donuts on the way back. Like no one's going to want to crash that momentum that they have. They want to keep that momentum going. So then they go into the rest of the day adding up these little wins.
Yep.
And then imagine if you did that for a week, let alone a month. I mean, imagine if you did that for the whole year, where you could be at. But it starts with just racking up those little wins over time, building on these little habits throughout time, staying consistent with that. And at the end, you can get to that big goal that you're looking for.
The mindset going into it could be looked at as an obstacle if you're not going into it with the right mindset. Are there other common obstacles that you've experienced or seen people come to you with that have been holding them back?
I mean, you name it. I think I've heard of it. After working with over 10,000 clients, I've dealt with a lot of different obstacles, hurdles, you name it. It's like, sometimes it's as simple as they got sick, I mean, we're going into fall here. It's changes of weather. People get sick, it just happens. And it doesn't mean this has to totally derail your entire program and your plan and your goal setting. It just means that we need to make a few modifications and adjustments and then help you get right back on track. It doesn't mean this throws you off the entire thing. And so, I mean, if that person gets ill, having a coach is going to help them tremendously just get right back on track when they're feeling up to it. And even when they're down and they're feeling sick, it's like just making the necessary adjustments, right? So maybe it's something like sad, like maybe somebody got ill, right? Maybe there was even a death in the family. Those are some sad moments where, it's just about being there for the client, making the necessary modifications, and then helping them get back on track. Maybe it's something really fun that's coming into their life that might throw them off track. Maybe they're going on a 7-day cruise, all you can eat buffet. And they're like, well, I can't be on my plan during all this, right? Or whatever's coming up. It's like, actually, that might be the most important time for you to have a plan and have a coach, because you're going to need some accountability while you're on that 7-day all you can eat cruise, right? And it doesn't mean you can't have fun on that cruise. It just means that having some support, understanding what type of adjustments and flexibility that we can help you out with on your plan is going to be key for you to maintain your progress.
Yes. I love that you said that, because I think that's a big misconception. I think that's the biggest misconception when it comes to getting in shape, is people think they have to give up their lives. And that's not true. I don't think I live a necessarily normal life, but I don't think I have the lifestyle and the diet and everything that people think I have, right? And I think that's the same thing with a lot of healthy, fit people, that people think that they give up all their favorite foods, they live in the gym, and while one may say that I do sometimes live in the gym, especially with hybrid triathlon training while trying to lift weights. Still, I do work out quite a bit, but my diet, I mean, most people could follow my diet. Most people, unless you have like a specific dietary restriction or something like that, anybody could follow my diet. It's really not a hard diet to follow, and I enjoy it a lot. And so it's not this thing that I'm only doing for a couple of months. It's this thing that I'm okay with doing for the rest of my life because I actually enjoy it. And it's not just the intake of food that I enjoy, which I do love food. It's everything else that comes with it, right? And so I think people have to start looking at this as a multi-level approach where it's like, hey, maybe the food is not chicken and waffles every single meal, but maybe you get that chicken and waffle once a week, and then the other times you get this other food that you like 80% as much, so you still really like it. But then what comes with that is more energy, with losing weight, with clothes fitting better, with more confidence, with a healthier home life, with a much more intimate relationship, with more sexual attraction to your partner or your partner to you. All these different things come from enjoying your diet 80% as much as in the past. People, I feel like, revolve their life around food too much. And when you can start to dissociate food with just purely being this pleasure thing, because that's, I think, what gets us into some trouble, is people look at food as a scapegoat. People look at food as a stress reliever. And if you do that, hell, if you're always stressed, you're going to also be stressed and overweight. And so I think it's a huge thing to bring up, that like, hey, if you do have a cruise, someone's going to go, I can't follow my plan on this cruise. And you go, well, this is the most important time for you to follow your plan. But that's not saying that you can't have all these foods. It's just, you need to have it in moderation. You need to have a plan to be active. And you need someone, and like you said, with working with a coach, you need someone to ask questions for. And so you need to be serious. You need to commit to like, this is something where like we can talk to you about how easy we think it could be for you, but in the end, you still have to commit. No one's going to do the work for you. The coach isn't going to do the work for you. You still have to commit to it, but it's not going to be this life-ending, overwhelming thing just to lose 20 pounds. If you do it the right way, if you treat it the right way and you go into it with the right mindset, this is going to be something that you actually find enjoyable. And we've had, and I'm sure you can attest to this, so many clients that come to us, and we actually have coaches that work with us now who train clients now who were actually clients to start with. We have many of them. They came to us, followed one of our programs, fell in love with it, got their personal training certificate, and now they train clients. And that's the difference between following a plan that is not sustainable and following a plan that is actually right for you. So I'm very glad that you sandwiched, hey, this cruise, you have to follow your plan still, but we're going to make it so that you enjoy it.
So yeah, it's kind of just like racking up those wins. And then you can actually stick with the process and stay on track. And it's because it's part of your plan, rather than you going in with unrealistic expectations and with the expectation of, oh, I can't have fun on this cruise. I can't have any of the good foods. And then you feel like you failed. But in actuality, like whenever you're racking up those little wins throughout the day, throughout the week, and you're starting to get results, well, guess what? You can actually fit in a cheat day, maybe a cheat meal, a cheat day. You can have fun during these things whenever you have good balance in your routine, right? So it's not like it's fully restrictive and you can't ever have fun. You can't do the things you like to do and have good food and all that. It's just about having the right balance that's the right fit for you.
And I think, to touch on that, I think there's a misconception around what good food is. But then like you go to like these nicer restaurants, or even not nice restaurants, there is always a healthier option that tastes phenomenal. Like if I'm going out to eat, I mean, a steak and potatoes, that's pretty dang healthy, as long as it's not like buttery mashed potatoes and you're putting a bunch of crap on everything. But for the most part, that's just protein, fat, and carbs. As long as you're taking that into account earlier in the day, or if you get like a lean fish and some rice, like that's a great meal in my opinion. I love fish and rice. And so I would have that at a 5-star restaurant. And so like, I feel like there could be a common misconception around what good food actually is, because when you're on vacation, when you're on that cruise, hey, if you want to have some pancakes, do it. But that's going to be a lot of your carbs. So just be aware of that. And so now when you're going and having some alcoholic beverages later, don't have anything that's super high in sugar, and have something that's a little bit of a leaner drink, so that you're not having you're not drinking any carbs because you already had pancakes for breakfast. And so I think that's the value of having that coach, having that expert in your corner who can give you that feedback and give you that advice of how to handle this, how you want to approach this, what your interests are, and then they can calculate it for you so that it matches those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about like good food. I can't tell you how many times I've helped a client out and gave them a customized meal plan, and they couldn't believe the amount of like good food that they had on their plan. They were expecting it to be like bland chicken
and rice
with nothing on it,
Yeah.
and then just bland rice and broccoli. And here you go. You're going to have this 7 days a week. And then they get their plan and they're like having like pasta dinners, and they're having like roast beef stew and all these like really good savory meals that they actually really enjoy. And they're like, it doesn't feel like they're on a diet.
Yes, exactly.
And the thing is, like, it's still healthy food. And then we find a way to make that balance into everything else. And it's something that they like sticking with. So then they're able to be consistent with it. And then the best part is, you know, after a couple of days, maybe a week or so, they start getting results. They start feeling better. And then that's motivation in itself to want to continue on that plan.
Yep. 100%. We did a survey with our custom plan clients, and one of the most common questions that we got after sending out the custom diet plan is this my plan? Because it was either so many calories that they weren't used to it, or the foods that were on it they weren't used to, which I think is incredible, because and it also just goes back to show you where those misconceptions lie around nutrition.
The calories is a big one. I didn't even touch on that. Like, yes, you're getting great foods, but also you're going to have enough calories to feel satiated and to feel like you have energy.
Sometimes you're going to struggle to eat it all. That's something that we've seen a lot.
That's very common. When you first get your plan, it's almost like it's too much food. We hear it all the time, but there's a plan and there's a process behind that as well. And it just goes to show, like, so many people they're stuck in these calorie deficit plans where they think they have to be all the way down to 1,100 calories, then to be doing
to sandwich, or to just add real quick for everybody listening, calorie deficits are important. You have to have it to lose weight, but restrictive diets, going extreme calorie deficits, that's where you have to be careful.
Yeah, extreme deficits. And sometimes people go the extreme route because they want quick results. They want the instant gratification.
We're all impatient and we want it, right?
Yeah, yep. And so it's really about having a plan that you can be consistent with. And that consistency is what will really help you get great results in the long run, not cutting your calories to an extremely low amount where then you have no energy to work out. And then you start eating away at your lean muscle mass, and then you start just messing up your system for the long run. There's a much smarter approach to that.
Yes, 100%. But that's all I had for you. This was a nice long episode, so I hope everybody enjoyed talking. This was awesome. I hope everybody got like a lot of just ideas, motivation, tips and tricks, things that they can use moving forward to help hold themselves accountable. And obviously we've talked about it a bunch on this call. If you do want to work with one of our coaches, we have the best team of coaches of any fitness company in the world, who we are ready to work with you. We want to work with you. Our coaches love working with our clients. We actually care about your results. And so if you guys do want to sign up for a program, if you guys do want to get on a one-on-one coaching call, whatever it is, there's either a link somewhere around on this podcast, or just go to our website, vshred.com, check out our programs. And hopefully I see your guys' before and afters coming across my desk. But Mitch, thank you for being here. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting.
All right. See you next time. Now, if you are looking for some extra support and you aren't looking to spend a fortune, you should consider working with one of our V-Shred certified coaches. We'll figure out your macros. We'll figure out your calories. We'll figure out what your custom meal plan will look like. And yes, we'll make sure that it contains your favorite foods. And basically all you do is you let your coach know what you like, what you don't like, because when we say custom, we mean it. And you get unlimited emails, you get weekly check-ins, you get access to our brand new coaching app where you can message them at any time about anything with any questions. Our coaches are here to help you reach your goals, and they care about your success. And so all the details about how it works is in the description down below. So check that out if you want to. But thank you again for tuning in. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.